Friends, thank you so much for joining us and welcoming Mr. Wager for our introduction night so that you can get to know him. My name is Cameron, and we're here on behalf of student government, and I want to just turn this over to Mr. Kaur so he can make some brief introductions.
Thank you, Cameron. I greatly appreciate that. Welcome, Bison community here. It's great to see, or to be with you virtually this evening. It's hard to believe that we're only 2 weeks away from the start of school. And we're so excited about this upcoming year. We've got a lot to look forward to. Number one being we're all back together. And that is totally awesome that we can come back and build our community and be together. We're also very excited about the fact that we have a new building principal, and we are going to get to meet him, have some discussions with Mr. Wager tonight. So we're really thrilled that Mr. James Wager is joining the Shaker community, and we know that it's going to be a great experience for all the students of Shaker High School with Mr. Wager as their principal. I also just want to make a brief comment here about the questions. Student government has prepared questions this evening, and this is primarily a student focus group. So there were some questions that were submitted by some of the adults. We won't address those specifically this evening, but they certainly merit our consideration and concern. Please feel free to contact the Shaker High School office and direct them specifically to Mr. Wager, and we'll get you answers at that juncture. So without further ado, Mr. Wager, welcome to Shaker High School. And Cameron, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Kaur. And thank you so much, Mrs. Skeels, for also joining us. I'm going to throw it over to our sophomore rep for student government, Olivia Gilbert, and she's going to start off with some questions.
Thank you so much, Cam. I would like to start by asking Mr. Wager, if you could share a meal with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I've got a list. One of the individuals for sure, just because I think it would be super fun, would be Ben Franklin. One of my favorite Ben Franklin stories is that every year Oxford University in England would hold a science competition, and it would go out to scientists in most of the Western world, and he always submitted a science experiment and a write-up around flatulence, just to get underneath their skin. So for me, I think that would be an entertaining meet. The other dinner experience, God, that's a really hard one. I feel like I should say something really smart, but I don't think that's wise. I'm thinking more funny, and he's since passed away, but the comedian George Carlin. I think that would be an excellent dinner guest.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, what motivates you to work hard?
Oh, that's also a great question. For me, is it something that I'm passionate about, right? Is it something that inspires curiosity and wonder, right? It's that drive to know and figure stuff out. That's an excellent motivator for me. And in general, and on the professional side, it's always, since going into education, is about how do we create the best possible experiences for the kids in our charge, from whether it's from the start of the school day to the end or through their entire school experience that they're with us. How do we help them grow and be the best critical readers, writers, and thinkers that they can be, and have a good time doing it, right? So that's kind of where my motivation is grounded.
And our last question from me is, if you could go back in time 10 years and tell yourself something, what would you say?
Oh, 42-year-old me. Don't do that. It's not wise. And you can pick from a list of things, from bungee jumping to skydiving, or other just kind of questionable, risky decisions involving falling off of things or jumping off of things. Because it hurts after a while. We just don't recover as fast as when we're 22 or 18. So it would, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Rethink that.
Mr. Wager, can I jump in before Lauren does with a question?
Certainly.
Mr. Wager, what is your favorite pet and why is it a cat? I hope.
No, sorry.
Right.
I've always had dogs and currently have 2 rescues, a hound mix, Dama Alice, and a Boston Terrier rescue, and her name is Trixie. And she's clearly in charge, all 18 pounds of her that rules the roost.
Okay, well, I'll allow that because I think Trixie's an adorable name. Just going to throw that out there. Okay, thanks, Lauren, for letting me jump in.
Hey, Lauren, it sounds like we're having some connectivity issues. Do you want to just try that one more time? No, I'm so sorry, Lauren.
Did this work?
Yes. We're good. Ask away.
Bluetooth. All right. It says, what is your definition of success?
I thought really hard about this one because you think it's such a simple word, right? And success is subjective. It can be objective with measures. Success for me is, what did I learn? Did I learn what I needed to learn in the process, right? And if it was easy and I didn't struggle and I didn't get some things wrong, then maybe I didn't learn enough through it, or it wasn't challenging enough. So success is, what did I walk away learning? So it's not always the end point, but the process. What did I learn?
Right.
I learned I need to practice that more to get to where I need to be. Sometimes it's that, but for me, it's about, did I learn what I needed to learn in the process?
Very cool. Okay, thank you. The next question is, did you always know that you wanted to be involved with education?
No, I think at some level I did. When I graduated college, I promptly took my history degree and got a job in finance, which makes absolutely no sense, and did not enjoy that even a little. And thought about the times that when was I happiest and able to earn a living, and that was working with kids in some capacity, whether it was a camp counselor or a ski instructor or whatever it may have been. And that's when I went back to school to get my degree in education. And I think when I started teaching, I was 28, so it wasn't right out of college. Took me a while to figure it out. My sister says it's because I'm slow to learn lessons, to figure stuff out sometimes.
All right, thank you. And the final question is, what do you consider to be your most significant accomplishment from your time as superintendent of instruction at Gloversville School District?
I would say, in education, it's a team effort on the part of the teachers and administrators and working together. And I don't think that any one thing would be my greatest success, but I think as a group, our biggest success, when I started in the district, the high school had a graduation rate of about 56%. And the last rate pre-COVID was 78%. So in a little less than 7 years, kind of helped move things in the right direction and get more kids across the stage to graduate. So that I feel really good about, and that we're able to help kids and grow as professionals in the process.
That's awesome. I think Selena might be taking over with the next set of questions.
All right, so we've heard you're really big on bow ties. So my first question is, what is your favorite tie or bow tie?
I think bow ties I don't know that I have a couple of go-tos. I don't have a particular favorite. It depends on what the suit ensemble looks like and can I coordinate the bow tie with the socks. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into picking the right tie. And am I on time in the morning? They are a little more complicated to tie. So if I'm running late, you'll see a straight tie. And if it doesn't match, it's because I was late and things didn't go well. But and sometimes I pick one that I really like and it just doesn't work at all. But at that point, it doesn't matter.
So my next question is...
I'm sorry, Salita, can I ask you a question? How big is your collection of bow ties? Like, how many would you say you have? Because I too have heard, Salita, that he likes the bow tie.
I think, I just called a few out because they were worn out a little bit. I think I'm somewhere between 30 and 40 bow ties.
Quite the collection. My next question is, who has influenced you the most when it comes to how you approach your work?
There's a couple of sources that I draw from. One, most importantly, is my older sister, who was a teacher in Troy, middle school teacher for 30 years. She's one of the hardest working, most driven individuals that I know. And she takes that approach to everything she does. She's still a Division I women's lacrosse and volleyball official. And worked incredibly hard to get there. So I used to tease her growing up and say, well, you can't do that. And then she would get aggravated and work until she was better than everyone in the room at it, and very humble in that process. So she's a model I look to as a younger brother. And then when I annoyed her, I just tell Mom. So that was okay. But yeah, she's an inspiration, and this would make her blush a little because she doesn't like to get a lot of attention that way.
My last question for you is, do you have a favorite quote and what is it?
Oh, no, I like a lot, and Mr. Core can speak to this as former social studies people. We've got lots of quotes to draw from that you don't know until you're in a situation, and then a light bulb goes off. I'll have to think about that one. I don't have one that comes to mind. At least nothing witty anyway at the moment, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Follow up, do you have anything that's like sticking out right now in your head as something funny, like a funny quote?
Oh.
We've moved from inspirational to funny.
Funny. Yeah. My brain immediately goes to old 1960s cartoons like Tennessee Tuxedo and his tails and Underdog and things like that. Because there's some good lines there. But God, that's a tough question. You put me on the spot. Again, I'll have to wow. Well, I'm sure I could come up with something that wouldn't. Well, that I do, but I can't. I'm not going to share that one. So I'll see if I can come up with one that I'll share with you guys. That's on another time.
Lovely. I'm going to pass it over to Gavin, and he's going to take over. My better half of Stuco.
So my first question is, what are you most looking forward to in your new position? And I hope your answer is doing more student government Instagram takeovers.
That will definitely be a part of it. Like I said, now that I've got your login information, they might be random drop-ins and things like that. I'll keep it interesting, keep people off balance a little bit. I'm most excited about being in a school building filled with kids, excited to be there, with teachers excited to be there, and recapture that sense of connection to the school community that we've been missing since March of 20. I think that is, I get chills thinking about that. And I think that more than anything else, I think that has been our biggest loss through this, is that connection as human beings in a community where we all get to learn and grow together. The traditional classroom learning yes, that we lost that, but you've all had real life learning experience. You've been living through a living science experiment, a political discourse seminar, right? Public health, learning all about how public health systems and how they work. Right? What does it mean to be a good writer and articulate your thoughts and put them out there for the world to see? Right? So you've been learning on the fly, but most of all, you've missed the connection, right? And that's what I'm most excited about, granting those connections. And now I've got better than 2,000 students and staff to make those connections with, and you can't ask for much better than that, right? That's why we do it. That's what I'm looking most forward to, is capturing those connections and being right in the school.
Yeah, that was a great response. My next question is, what are some obstacles or things you found difficult adjusting to this new role?
Being relatively clueless about the little stuff, right? Like, okay, where do I find this form? What is the process to get this particular thing started or going? It's all of those little tasks in your day that help it go smooth and efficient, that you get ready to do them, like, I got to ask, because I'm not sure where to go for this or how to go about doing that. And Miss Gorman and Miss Seville and Miss Bell have been phenomenal and steering me in the right direction and making sure that that's not the way you get that done. Do it this way. They've been invaluable and incredibly kind. And Mr. Kuchar and Mr. Spofford and Ms. Fox and Ms. Sheeler, even though that she's jumped ship to the middle school, they're very lucky, have been incredibly collegial, warm, welcoming, and they're really good at what they do, and they're committed to the school and continuing the excellence. So they've helped my transition a tremendous amount. Little bumps that don't know where something is, or I randomly stumble across places in the building. I'm like, I'm never going to remember how to get back here. And then I'm starting to remember how to get back places. So that's good. It helps. Just those little things. And I wouldn't say that they're difficulties or challenges, but they're just part of the learning. They're just part of the learning. But it's been great. It's been great.
Nice. Another question we have is, what's a challenging situation you had to overcome professionally, and how did you handle it?
Oh, that is a really, really good question. And there's been a fair number, and sometimes they deal with staff and colleagues, and other times they're really serious student issues or personal issues with folks that are in the community. I mean, I don't want to be a downer, but a couple of experiences where there was some tragic loss that I think for me, it's trying to be as empathetic as I possibly can, listen and be supportive. And empathy sometimes is hard in that we have to be willing to try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Sometimes we can't, but just to get close to that, you have to open yourself up. And those are challenging moments, but they're what make us entirely human and compassionate and supportive. Some student loss moments, some personnel matters that didn't have to be a certain way that turned out. And you just have to remember that people come every day and try to do their level best, even when it goes wrong, and start from there and be as compassionate as possible. And if you get it wrong, admit it and fix it. That's usually a pretty good go-to as well.
Okay, and my final question is, What are you most looking forward to in the 2021-22 school year? Are there any events or anything that you're really excited for?
Anything that we can actually do as close to the traditional way of doing it as possible. I think anything, honestly, whether from a pep rally to the homecoming dance to how we're able to gather in the hallways and the lobbies and on the grounds and experience plays and musicals. Any of those things as closest to we can imagine getting them to that shared experience we know. That's what I'm looking forward to. And if we have to take a different path, that we don't let our disappointment cloud the abilities of our collective imagination to create a way to have a similar experience and feel those same types of feelings, right? So that's it. Let's just do school again, right? And just kind of be there and in it and go and take the rough stuff when it comes, because it's always there.
All right. I'll hand it over to Cameron now, who has the final round of questions from us.
Great. Thank you so much, Gav. So let's start with a silly one like always. Are you an early bird or are you a night owl?
Yes. My day usually starts about 4:45 a.m. and if I can get to sleep by between 11 and midnight, I'm doing pretty well. That, and then I might sleep in till like 6 or 7 on a Saturday or Sunday, depends. Vacation is different. That's different, but the normal routine is 4:45, 5 a.m. and try to be asleep before midnight.
Awesome. So a follow-up question to that, what do you do like late at night or very early in the morning? Like what's your go-to?
Early in the morning is out with the dogs, coffee, stare at the TV, not pay attention to the weather, and then ask myself, well, what's the weather going to be like today as I go out the door? Sometimes it's up and I'm reading or doing work for my own academic classes. And evenings, it's time with family through dinner, and then again it may be nose in a book or responding to emails or playing catch up, or on occasion I've been known to sit with the kids, my partner Jerry, and play Mario Kart.
I know Mrs. Hills is happy about that book answer.
I am. I'm wondering if you have a favorite book, since I have the mic for a minute, or a book that you would read again if you could tomorrow.
Oh, I would say this came up on one of the questions on Instagram today, and I didn't have a particular favorite, but the one that I've enjoyed the most recently was the Seventh Most Important Thing, which is a YA book, and it's a quick and easy read, but it's a really compelling story. One of the books that I've read quite a lot, partly because it's a challenging read, is Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. He's a Brazilian educator and activist, and there's a lot more in there than just how pedagogy and teaching. It is a big complex book, but I enjoy that one quite a lot too.
Thanks, and shout out to whoever the student was on Instagram asking about your favorite book. Yay! Yeah.
My favorite dystopic literature is Aldous Huxley, A Brave New World, which is, that's the history piece, and he was way ahead of his time in his own bizarro way.
For sure. Thank you so much for that. So our next question is, what's your favorite thing to do on your day off? I know that you said like video games or hanging with the dogs. Like, what's your number one thing?
In the winter, it's skiing. Any day I can get on the snow, I go. I've been doing it my entire life, and it is serenity. You just go ski with somebody because you have someone to talk to on the lift, but once you go, it's It's quiet. It's peaceful. And not in the winter. It varies. I like to be outside, whether it's hiking, cycling, anything. Not so much working in the yard and pulling weeds. Don't enjoy that, but anything outside works.
For sure. Look out, Shaker Ski Club. You might have a new member joining you.
I'm going.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going. I've already decided I'm participating in that one.
I don't doubt it. We don't doubt it. So what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
Oh, I don't know. There's pretty out there with a lot of stuff. Professionally, people are always surprised when they see me in short sleeves or shorts, and they see the tattoos. That's always like, you go from a suit and a bow tie to some larger leg pieces, and some smaller ones. That always throws people off a little bit. So not everybody knows that. I like motorcycles. I mean, I don't currently have one, but there's nothing better on a nice fall day than to get out and ride on windy roads. Not too fast, because then your passenger gets upset. But I'm trying to think, what else? I don't know. I live pretty unfiltered sometimes, so it's I'm terribly sensitive when it comes to animals. I don't like sometimes I look annoyed all the time, but I'm really not. And just thinking about stuff, and people wouldn't guess that when it comes to animals, I'm a mush.
For sure. Thank you so much for all of those great, small tidbits. Like a branch off, and do you have a favorite tattoo that has a funny backstory? Is it all just stoic and?
Oh no, there's no fun stories, other than some where that was an impulse decision that I'm second guessing now. There's a couple of those. I think the favorite one that I have is I have a rib piece that goes from my hip to just underneath my arm, that it is the tree of life wrapped around an anchor and a compass. And for me, it was this notion that I heard a quote, and I can't attribute it, as let the past be your compass and never your anchor, right? So that you're just continually going. And I had a very special person in my life do the initial design, and 5 hours later, it was finished.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Totally putting you on the spot with half of these, but
that's all right.
Camp.
You know what? I threw out tidbits of information, so I anticipate the sideways questions. It's perfectly okay.
For sure. And how will you handle the complications surrounding COVID-19 and other variants, and any other difficulty that may arise, should they arise? And this is our last question. We're ending it on a hard but serious note.
Yeah, I think the pragmatic answer here is we follow the guidance we have and the protocols and procedures that are in place to provide the safest, best possible experience for students and staff. And if COVID has taught us anything, it is to be responsive, not reactive. We need to be flexible in our thinking and nimble in our decision making, and ground that in good science, good guidance, and making the best possible decisions for the people in your charge. If you start there, even if it gets a little rough, you're doing pretty well. It's a concern. I can say there's not an educator that I know that hasn't spent the last year or so walking into school, dying to be there with the kids, but also, is today the day that it's going to be my class, or it's going to be me, and we're going to have to make that rapid change. And it's hard on you guys, and hard on educators. And you just kind of take a breath and get a little more comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And unknowing. And that's the hard part, but take it as it comes and be as prepared as we can in the process.
Such a great motto to live by. And so that was our last question, but I want to just open it up if you want to say some ending words, and then, I'll close us out. But if Mr. Wager wants to say any last minute things to the audience, this is your time.
Oh, thank you, Cameron. One, just thank you to student government and putting this together and doing a wonderful job. And again, thank you for trusting me with your Instagram account. That was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot in the process. The only thing I want to end with is I'm just really looking forward to getting the year going. I know things have been a little bumpy as the summer has gone on, and timelines haven't been perfect. But just know that we're working hard to get the building in the best possible shape for you guys, so we can have a great school year, however that may look. And I just can't wait to see everybody in the building and all the people I've yet to meet and get to know in the process. It's just excited as all get out.
Awesome. So a big thank you to Mr. Wager for putting up with student government for the last 45 minutes. And a big thank you to Mr. Core and Mrs. Skeels for backing this event. I'd like to also thank student government and our advisor, Mrs. Morgan, for just being so awesome through all of this. I hope everyone watching has a great night, and I can't wait to see you when school starts. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.